onto the lesser known sister that isn't terrorizing the balance of this game. Alia may not be as broken as her sister, but she is a great character to use if you decide to invest in her. She's a strong support DPS who can give herself a variety of buffs and provide a niche amount of support too, with a unique mechanic that expands on all of that. So let's go ahead and check out what she's all about, and I'll show you guys how to build her. So with her talent here, the damage increases initially has 3 types of fortune effects, first one being spiritual fortune. After taking action, heals allies within 2 blocks for an amount of her own ints. Second being great fortune, attacking ints are increased. Lastly, good fortune, after taking action, gains 1 random buff, and a maximum of 3 of these fortune can exist simultaneously, which cannot be dispelled. At the start of the turn, gains 1 random fortune if possessing 2 or more of them, she gets plus 2 more range. When she has 3 of the same types, refreshes the cooldown of all of her damage skills. Talent dependent, but not to an extreme level, you know? Getting her extended range isn't that hard to do, even her skill cooldown too. Some of you guys may be surprised about that, because she can actually have like more than 3 of them. Even though they don't look too powerful, it's still not bad to be honest. It's definitely a fresh breath of air when you compare her to Alia, who just gets a stupid amount of buffs that she can provide, stuff that don't make sense. So yeah, seeing Alia is just something that you would see like in those day and age where character balancing actually felt pretty good. This is the type of thing that you see. Alia is a character that I can really respect. But yeah, most of it is just pretty much to herself. You can also provide these stuff to her teammates too with this skill here. Pretty fast cooldown too, so it's pretty spammable as well. But yeah, seeing here is what makes Alia a pretty good support DPS. You know, nothing too special, just downright pretty solid. So with the left path, she is going to be more defensive, while her right path is where she can deal more damage thanks to her bonds. So choose whatever that you like. And with the buffs that she can supply herself with, she'll be able to maintain that. So with the class Master Stones, for the first 2 armor headward, you want HP int to magic defense, the last 2 HP int and skill. Although with the accessory, instead of skill, you can do magic defense if you want. Then with the arena stones, you want to do either an offensive or a defensive set. With the soldier choices, one of her best ones include the Wild Expedition for physical damage. It's really her only best physical soldiers that she can use. You got Fairy here who are consistent with damage. Soldiers here do more damage a bit, but they have to maintain full HP for that to happen, so in actual reality, they are a bit worse. Crystal Warlock here, if you want to be more defensive, they have sustainability with their healing, plus they can survive physical attacks too since they reflect it as well, plus they have tons of HP. Then you got the Fighting Monks here, who is a mix of damage and physical survivability, plus they do have healing bonus too. Her best weapons include Scepter for range, Night Bloom to dispel debuffs, Eternal Light for healing, Red Moon for int and HP, the Heart Cleanse to apply buff block, Pale Staff to increase single target damage and apply a random debuff, then Blue Moon for int and magic defense. The armor that you want is going to be the Tenyos to have a chance to dispel and apply a debuff when enemies attack her. Ritual of Confusion to lower AoE damage taken, Reaper's New Clothes to lower chance to be killed by a single target attacks, Nebulous Robe for the HP and lower reflect damage taken. If you don't have anything better, then use the Galaxy Cloak for now until you get the better ones. It provides magic defense and HP. For the helmet, Star Crown for damage, Earmuffs to apply damage res and fixed damage immunity on an ally, Electric for displacement immunity, Tenyo for random buff, the Demon Hunter for AoE damage res and silence immunity, Glory for heals and revive from fixed damage, and Dark Crown if you don't have anything else better to use, which is the same thing as the Galaxy Cloak. More magic defense and HP. With the accessory, Cooling for silence immunity, Alia is going to be spamming with her skills, especially her Actigan and her support 1C, so it's something that you definitely want so that she can refresh her talent and provide support. Vidara's Rose to dispel buffs, the drop near if you want to reflect range attacks. If you don't really care about that, then other choices that you can use is Eye of Beholder to lower their damage after battle, Star Earring to help better survive against assassins and archers. The Planet Spirit is very great on any strong DPS. If your Alia is your main, then it's not bad, especially in PvE for more damage. You know, if she is your main DPS, you know, if you are PvPing, these things are incredibly rare, so You want someone who is more technical with their kit, like for example Ashen with their 3C stun. That's a prime good example since Bond of Arashi exists, that thing prevents stun. And since the Planet Spirit disables accessory effects from only in PvP, having it on someone like Ashen is a very good combination. With enchants, got a Breeze for mobility, Full Moon for the stats up, or Magic for more damage. The enchant stat that you want is mainly HP and int. Try to get like a good chunk of it, with the third substat being Magic Defense. It's also fine if you get defense too. I wouldn't really worry about the third one way too much, as long as you get HP and int. Even with accessory too, having crit in it, if you care about damage. But having int and HP, having a good chunk of it, is what you should really care about the most. Alright, so hopefully you guys have an idea on how to build your Alia. So now with that out of the way, if you guys are having trouble with the first awakening stage, or just are curious, then let's go ahead and check it out. Alright, so with this stage, you're gonna be up against Xeon, you're on a shell, and then Alia. Alright, so with the skills here, this is what you're gonna see me run. For 1C, for the support, then you got a unique one for more damage, plus the healing can be nice too. Then the last one could just be whatever that you want. What you guys typically see me run is an AoE for chip damage. If the AoE is something that you don't really care about, then either use Holy Word for the extra healing, or you can also use the Fate skill, since it also helps with more damage too, if you just want to go full single target attack. Then with the soldier choices here, Wild Expedition can be good. For some of you guys, you might have to 2-tap Xeon, since he is going to be more physically bulky. But if you can get past him, then the last 3 enemies have lower defense, which makes it a bit more easier. But yeah, if you can't pass Xeon with that, then I recommend using Fairy or Sources for damage. Crystal Warlock could be your saving grace here. They won't help you deal much damage, but they're very great at surviving stuff. Even the Fighting Monk too. They do have a mix of offensive and defensive capability. Alright, so the first part right here, you do start off with 3 random fortune here. And that's how it always should be. So right here we are going to step back. If you are able to one-shot Xeon, then hey, that's great. But let's say that you can't. Well, let's go ahead and use a 1C skill. And we are going to use the yellow skill right here, which gives us a random buff. We can't use the blue one here since it gives us more int, and that is something that doesn't happen in this awakening stage. So we can really only use this yellow one here, and then the green one for extra healing, but we don't need it right now, so let's go ahead and click the yellow one for a random buff, and hopefully we can get something like damage increase so that we do more damage. So let's go check the buffs now. We do get the extra mobility and we do get the damage increase, which are both really good. So right here, it is an act against skill, and we do get the extra blue one, so that means we can do a bit more damage, which is pretty good. So we can't use our AoEs here, unfortunately, but we do want to step all the way back maximum, because Xeon does have a 2-range skill that he can attack you with if you're just barely outside the danger zone. And we kind of want to lure him near the defensive terrain so that we have a better chance of surviving. So here is perfect. So we get to stay in the wall for a 30% increase in defense, and then now we can go ahead and deal damage to Xeon. Since we got 2 types of the fortune, we will be able to get the 20% magic defense ignore on her unique 2C. So let's go ahead and attack Xeon and hopefully one-shot him. If you can't one-shot him, then hopefully you are able to survive. And so with Girl in the Shell, with her extended range, you have no choice but to take damage from her Heaven Sanction. So what do? You either tank it, or another way is to hopefully get another mobility increase from using her 1C skill here, or if you have Breeze on her. Since we don't have a stack of, what was it called again? Good Fortune. It says that we can use it, but since we don't have any of that, we cannot supply ourselves with the random buff. So we kind of just want to have to like shuffle around, right? So let's go ahead and use her heal skill here, maybe get like 1 stack, or maybe if you're feeling a bit risky here, you can risk the 2 stacks that you have. Like for me, I have 2 stacks of more int, but I am gonna go ahead and sacrifice it. It does lower our damage, but it should totally be fine at the end, and we do end up getting extra healing, which is something that I don't really care about. So I'm gonna go ahead and just stay back and then hopefully get myself a Breeze. So next turn, let's go ahead and get rid of those healing thing. Go ahead and heal ourselves up, and we do get 2 stacks of the thing. And oh, and look at that, more mobility, so nice. We can't do anything right here, so let's just stay back. And hopefully, wow, Mass Attack is kind of scary on her, but hopefully that doesn't happen to you, right? By just barely staying out of range right here. We do get the extra mobility, that we needed, and we are in range of here on the show where she didn't use her Heaven Sanction, which I'm honestly sure if she doesn't really use it right here or not, because it kind of looks like that she should be able to use it in this spot, but I'm not gonna say anything. Just kind of glad that she didn't use it. Hopefully you guys as well, right? The breeds that we have right now certainly help with approaching Gits, and so since her range is built up, you have no choice but to hopefully tank her attack, unless you have the scepter on her, but I don't, so we're gonna stand on the wall and try to one-shot Gits here. It's gonna be very difficult, but we do. Hopefully you guys were able to kill her as well. Just make sure that you are using her unique 2C. Unique 2C, Holy Word, anything provide healing. She also heals herself up too, which is pretty good. And so right here, we can be a bit more aggressive here. Alia does summon her puppet, her angel. Alia is gonna walk over it because AI is pretty dumb. Luckily, she doesn't have AoEs on her, so she is gonna be predictable. So we can't approach you right here, so we're just gonna get a free chip damage in. Even though we can one-shot her, better be safe than sorry. And so with Alia approaching us, we just end up taking her down. Simple as that. I would say with Xeon, definitely just take advantage of the terrain, even if the Water Expedition Soldier doesn't help to kill him. Because right after that is Gits, and Gits is gonna be quite troubling because he can rival your range. And you guys saw earlier that she almost one-shotted Alia right there. And granted that my Alia isn't well built. And I almost kind of saw that Alia wasn't gonna be able to one-shot her. It did look pretty scary right there, so that's where I'll say that the sources does a bit better right there because they do get extra magic defense at 100% HP too. So they also do fine against Gits, just make sure that you always have full HP. So yeah, I definitely should have said that at the beginning. Maybe I'll edit something down so that it isn't like a last minute thing that I'm just saying right now. But yeah, the first two enemy are incredibly gonna be tough if your Alia is not as strong. My Alia here wasn't, so I was a bit kind of worried for myself right there too. So you just make good use of her buffs, try to get like some of the good ones like damage increase, damage res, get lucky with the mobility too. Just play around with her talent. You'll have to shuffle her around, get the yellow one if you can. You'll always get a buff out of it. And so once you learn all of that, hopefully you guys are able to clear this. And hopefully doing that helps you understand Alia later down the line when you decide to use her. Alright, so with the 3C here, the passive on it, when initiating battle with 3 or more fortune of the same type, the enemy is unable to attack. It's a single target skill. After battle, for each one type of fortune possessed, can move an additional block. After taking action, this unit can actively choose to gain 1 extra fortune for 2 turns. Cannot be dispelled, the extra fortune will not be consumed by skills, and only one can exist at the same time. So this is what I was talking about when we were looking at her talent, that she can actually get more of them. I say more, which is kind of a lie, which is only just 1 extra 1. So in actual reality with this, she can actually get 4 types of fortune coexisting. So whatever you want, like if you want more int, go for it. If you want some buffs for herself to be a bit more selfish, then yeah, go for it. If you really need that extra healing for herself and her teammates, screw it, why not? You know, and the run back is great too, the hit and run thing. And then the passive on it is a bit excessive. Even though it isn't that hard to shuffle around her fortune thing, you kind of go buy this passive without even thinking about it. Maybe for some of you guys, you can take into consideration to abuse it. But yeah, thankfully with this 3C, the whole fortune thing isn't too much of an issue. Even though, like I'm saying, it's not that hard to build up her fortune. Having this 3C just helps alleviate the annoyance of it all. So if you guys are curious, this is what her 3C animation looks like. So with the second awakening stage, typically if it's not difficult, then I don't really show them in the video because they're pretty easy to deal with. Although they might not be easy, it is still highly doable because you can get highly carried by 3 of the characters that they give you, you know, without relying too much on your own character too. So yeah, because of that, normally with the second awakening stage, I mostly don't show it off unless it's absurdly difficult and just really tricky. And even then, it is still passable. So yeah, that's why I mostly don't show it off. Alright, so with that being said, let's go ahead and check out her showcase. Alright, so here we are. Let's take a look at her talent real quick. She does more damage, initially starts with 3 types of fortune, one of them being spiritual fortune, where she heals allies with the 2 blocks. Great fortune increases her attack and end. Good fortune after taking action gains a random buff. A maximum of 3 of the fortune can exist simultaneously. that cannot be dispelled. At the start of next turn, gains 1 random fortune. If possessing 2 or more of the same type, gets plus 2 more range. When she has 3 of them, the cooldown of her damage skills is fully refreshed. So at the start of the battle, you get 3 random fortune effects. So for me, I got 2 great fortune and 1 good fortune. We're missing another one, which is the healing parts. So yeah, great fortune, pretty simple, increases your int. With good fortune, you get a random buff after ending her turn. And it's the same thing for her healing one too, if I did end up getting it. So with the random buff I got more magic defense. She is really self-sufficient in this regard. And you can see here with the buff icon, you can see that one of the fortune is glowing, and that simply just tells you that this one right here, that fortune, will be removed on next round. So yeah, let's go ahead and end our turn here, and then we have to go through all this animation. Leon's gonna kill the aquatic soldier, just whatever. But yeah, so hopefully we get the healing one so that I can show that off to you guys, which looks like we didn't get it, so, and we just got the great fortune again. And so next on the list is good fortune, and they kind of go like from right to left. So beforehand, good fortune is next to be on a list to remove on said next turn. And then going back to the next turn, you can see that now this thing is in the far left and the other great fortune is now in the middle. So if you really care about that, it's good to take notice of that to see what you really need. But yeah, having 2 of the same type of fortune will give her plus 2 more range. So you can see with Alia, she can attack from the standard range for typical mages. And then if you do get 3 of the same type here, so for me I got 3 of the same type of great fortune to increase her int, so that's a plus 30 stack right there. So with this, all of her attacking skills do get refreshed. So we're gonna go ahead and launch her one of her random attack skills that she can use. So with that going on, the clock effect should take place right there. And then we look at her buffs now. There it is. And reminder that one of the buffs don't go away until the next round. So Alia can keep on attacking and keep on skill refreshing. Like let's say if you have act against characters. Until the next round, where if you get lucky, 1 in 3 chance to get the same type again. If not, then you are fighting the 2 in 3 chance. And that's really it about her talent, but before we go into the skill sets, I try not to miss stuff if I can. And so I just want to add this part if you guys are just curious on what it looks like, how it looks like. It's just a standard healing, so treat it as like Liana's talent thing where just end her turn like nearby an ally. They get healed, Alia gets healed as well. There goes that in each stack that she has, more healing. But you are not stuck with those stacks all the time though. You are able to shuffle them around on the same turn, thankfully with their 1C skill. So you can use this to select an ally to gain a number of random other fortunes equal to the amount that she has. So with spiritual fortune, you get to heal based on how much stacks that she has. Great fortune increases attack and int for 2 turns that consumes up to 3 of them by boosting 5% more. Good fortune applies 1 random buff for 2 turns that consumes up to 3 of them, and each one applies a random buff. So this is also an act again skill where it doesn't lower her buff duration and can act again with the remaining mobility that she has left. So by selecting this, you can see that we do have a selection of all of her talent selection, just like a bit different design. So you can see that we do have the healing thing despite us not having it. It may be a bit confusing. I know I was a bit confused with this at first, but if you have 0, you only heal 1 time with this. And each one that you have, well, you heal a lot more. Same thing goes with attack and int buff, it was just boosted by 15%. And then same thing with the yellow one, where you just get 1 buff. But I'll go ahead and show you more. So with the yellow one, you can see that I have only 1 of them, right? Good fortune. So let's go ahead and apply it on Liana. Since I have an extra 1, it'll apply 2 of them, because 1 standard, even if you don't have 1. So since I have an extra good fortune stack, you get to apply another one for a total of 2 of them. And right after that, you do lose it if you end up having the fortune equivalent to whatever skill that you use. And it gets replaced with the random one, which I end up getting the healing one. So yeah, like I said earlier, it's a nice way to refresh your skills as a 1-turn cooldown, so it's really spammable at the end of every round, which is honestly very good for her, because she honestly really needs that. And trust me, you can be spamming with that thing a lot. And then lastly, let's go ahead and show off the blue one here, which is Great Fortune. So we do have 2 of them, so this should boost it by 25% here on, let's go ahead and give it to Liana. why not? So with that, we go ahead and check out Liana, and you can see the 25% increase to her offensive stats. And then we end up losing 2 of the stacks of Great Fortune. And then we got 1 healing and then 1 random buff thing. So simply after that, you move the base amount of mobility that you had left. So, and then just do whatever it is. You are going to be spamming that thing like every single turn, pretty much. Just getting whatever you want. So just take full advantage of that. It is very safe to use. And then right here with the other unique skill, you can say this one is a bit more worse than Dark Reaper because it is more technical, and I'm pretty sure that one ignores 30% magic defense and has the same damage multiplier as well. So yeah, even though getting her fortune stacks isn't that complicated to do, even though good on her, I do feel like it's kinda underwhelming. You know, she does have Heaven Sanction as an AoE option, which you might bring in some certain areas. And then lastly, with the Thxs skill, the passive on it, when initiating battle with 3 or more fortune of the same type, the enemy is unable to attack. It's a single target skill after battle for each same type of fortune possessed can move 1 additional block. After taking action, she can choose to gain 1 extra fortune for 2 turns, and only 1 can coexist at the same time. This makes her Thxs very valuable as you want to spam it as well, and make sure that you want to get that 3 stacks so that you can keep on spamming this and just get whatever that you need. Also 1C too. So with 3 of the great fortune that we have, so we are going to attack Egbert here, so that means he cannot attack us, and also we get to run back 3 blocks. So let's go ahead and take a look. So yeah, just like that, she got to attack pretty safe there, and we do get the run back. So yeah, highly take advantage of that, abuse that, and then right after she ends her turn, you can see that now, this is what I really like about, is that they do have different designs. So yeah, you can choose like whatever you want, whatever you need. So let's just go ahead and just give us more int for a total of 40% int increase. So now if we take a look, now we do get the number 2 here on a sword, which just tells you that, well, it just lasts for 2 turns. So what happens when we end our next turn? Well, so we do get 1 different fortune, but we still have 3 great fortunes still. So what does that mean? Does it change anything? Well, no, it doesn't, because it counts as 4, obviously, right? And so we still do keep the benefits of technically still having 3, and then as long as you're spamming this, we still keep the uptime on that extra 4th fortune. Like if I want to choose like extra healing, if my teams are hurt, well, I can choose it, but that extra 4th one is going to get changed. And so now that sword, the extra int that we got, is now changed with the healing. So it is really important that you try to get 3 of them ASAP, because 1, skill spam. Number 2, that 4th fortune is going to be up constantly. This is why you want to abuse both her 1C and 3C at the same time, because the 1C is able to let you shuffle around her fortune all the time, every round. Her 3C is what allows you to help maintain that 3rd stack. It's always going to be there as long as you're spamming it and clicking the same whatever type of fortune that you want. And that's really all her gameplay is. Just spamming her 1C and 3C, make sure that you keep on at least 3 of the same stacks. Her 1C and her 3C are her most important skills on her. You do use her 2C every now and then, but literally right after that, you're going to use her 3C, because you'll have 1 turn left, and obviously you want to keep the uptime on her 4th fortune. So yeah, you gotta have micromanagement in order to play Alia. And it's not really that complicated at all. It is fairly easy. So, overall, Alia is really underrated, purely because her sister heavily overshadows her for many great reasons. And probably other attackers too, but we'll get into that much later. And it makes sense though, right? Why would you use a character who you need to micromanage, given that it's not really that complicated, versus the other one who is literally broken and simple to use? It's ridiculous. A character who can actually carry you. But let's talk about the good with Alia. She's a support DPS. She can deal damage, her healing is surprisingly great, and provide buffs, making her very self-sufficient as well. Unlike some characters with an RNG talent like Thxs, hers is not complicated. The game is nice enough to tell you what leaves, since it goes from right to left, so it's going to be very obvious. But you also got the 1C to shuffle it around, replace it, then you have a 3C to grant the 4th one, so she can have a total of 4 fortune, which is why playing around her talent is really not that hard to do at all, because her 1C and 3C are the most important part of her kit, so that she can play more around her talent. So that means her extended range and the skill cooldown do have a constant uptime, pretty much. And that's really all the pros that I can come up with, but let's talk about the cons. It's micromanaging with Alia. It is a tiny bit annoying, but not enough to stress over it. But it makes it so that you always have to use her 1C in order to shuffle it around, and her constantly having to use her 3C. And you're pretty much doing that every single turn, because every round, she'll get a new fortune. Good thing you can spam it, right? You know, and that's really only the biggest problem about Alia. You also have the fact that some of the other mages, the other magic attackers, can perform better than her. Because what she does are all very niche things that she provides and does. Like whenever I think of a DPS, I think of characters like Langrisser and Lana, who can also apply debuffs so that other characters can do a follow-up attack. And her support side doesn't really feel necessary to lean on, because a lot of concepts that you want to go into, you always want to have a solo healer and then a faction buff character. You know, and you also have characters who can buff themselves up as well. And they too, some of them at least, are self-sufficient characters. So what she provides isn't really nothing new, nothing game-changing. So in PvE, her support and damage are nothing to really consider because of what you should normally bring in a fight. You know, all you really need is one healer let's say Rosencio, and then you got a faction buffer like Bernard, Elwin, and that's really it for team synergy. You know, it's all that you really need. You don't need to go any more crazy about that unless you want debuffs too, which can certainly help boost your fights. You know, another character that I also use is Alia, because her sword terrain provides a stats up and my teammates can also heal from it. In PvP, her support is somewhat understandable even though they don't last that long, but you have better support options like Bright Summoner. Another problem is that she's going to be very slow. That is going to be really bad since that means you will hardly ever see her obtain a 4th fortune stack using her 3C. And the only skill that she can ever rely on in that environment is her AoE skill, which is Heaven Sanction, so that she becomes at least a bit threatening. A lot of times, if you do see Alia, that might be the only thing that you'll ever see. You know, you get some occasions where she does end up using single target attacks, but Alia is gonna have a hard time approaching enemies. So with all of that said, Alia is not bad. In fact, she is quite good. But when you compare her to other support DPS and what a team should typically be consist of, it makes her obsolete. Alright, so that was Alia's showcase. If you want to use Alia, then go for it. Don't let anyone stop you. I kind of want to make this ending on a good note because Alia is a fantastic character to use. She's kind of there if oh, I can't think of a other character that I want to bring. She's kind of not bad. I might bring her, and you do. And you will see her perform quite well. Might not be the most crazy thing that you'll see compared to other characters who can do a bit more, but Alia can hold her own, and you will not regret investing into her. She is quite fantastic, even though you do have her sister, who a lot of people really care about because she is literally broken. But yeah, in my opinion, I do think that Alia is a fresh breath of air talking about, because Alia does remind me back then of when character balancing actually felt pretty good and nothing over extreme and over the top. You know, I'm fine with long games making insane characters, some ridiculous, but when you start giving characters stuff that they don't need and having the most outrageous kit and having such simple gameplay, it definitely makes me question the balance of this game. And I feel bad about the PvP players too. I stopped taking it seriously because of all the ridiculousness. And yeah, Alia, a character that I can really respect, but this is just me talking about how I feel. So you can have your own criticism, but don't go full out on a hate train just because I'm talking about how I feel. But you guys have been really well tamed, so I really appreciate you guys. But that is all I got. If you guys did enjoy this video, feel free to like and subscribe want to see more, and feel free to let me know down in the comments how you guys feel about Alia, or if there was something that I may have missed. So yeah, thanks for watching. Your fellow Z.